right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. So today I have a special Bitcoin miner video for everybody. The year is half over. All of the large Bitcoin miners have put out their June monthly operational reports. So we are going to go through the top 10 Bitcoin miners, and we're going to measure this in a bunch of different ways. So some of these are really starting to become crystal clear. So I'm excited to go through a few of these. If you're new to the channel, or if you've been here and you enjoy this content, please remember to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. So the first thing I'm going to show is I have Core Scientific here. They mined 1,030 Bitcoin. I do not have them in the top 10, although I'm showing them on this chart. You'll see at the bottom here is the name of each company. On top of the company is the rank. On the bottom of the company is the rank last month. For as long as Core Scientific is still in Chapter 11, I'm putting them on some of these lists, but I don't think it's fair to rank them because we don't know what's going to happen to the equity on these guys yet. But just for informational purposes, Core Scientific still did mine the most Bitcoin in the month of June, and that was 1,030 Bitcoin. Now, I do think there's a really good chance that Marathon in the month of July could pass Core Scientific, and that would be the first time that has ever happened. So the month is still only just less than half over, so we'll see what happens in July. For now, let's stick to June. Okay, so if I go to the chart without Core Scientific, you'll see Marathon is really running away from the pack. They are at 979 Bitcoin mined in the month. Now, that is less than the previous month. I want to note that almost all 10 of these companies mined less in June than they did in May, and mostly they were down anywhere from 15 to 22%. All of that has to do with two very specific things. Number one, the difficulty level went up again. But number two, May was an anomaly. We had that week or week and a half where there was monster fees that the Bitcoin miners were able to charge. They about 10x'd or 15x'd for just about a week in there. So May's numbers are skewed. Okay, with that said, so Marathon is in first with 979 Bitcoin mined in the month. CleanSpark is in second. So they jumped up to second. They've typically been in third. 491 Bitcoin, again, less than the previous month, but that is second place by a little bit. Now, if you enjoy this content and you're interested in supporting the channel, you can become a member. YouTube revenue is way down this year, so you can become a member by hitting the join button on the YouTube page. It's right next to the subscribe button. Again, it's only $5 a month. We have a once a week members only live stream. Also, the members get to pick a video each week for me to do a deep dive on. We have a library of content ready for members should you choose to join, and we have a private Discord that I'm active in as well, and the members are very active. We have a fantastic membership, so I wanted to shout out to all the existing members. Thanks so much for your support, and welcome to any new members. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the other chart. You're going to see three companies. Their numbers are skewed a little bit. They participated in selling energy back to the grid, and they were compensated for that. RIOT actually is the company that gets very large amounts of compensation. So they get more compensation than all the other companies put together. It's somewhere on the magnitude of 10 times more than even the other two companies that I have highlighted here. To put it in perspective, Riot got paid $10 million for energy in the month of June. So, that's the equivalent of maybe 350 or 375 Bitcoin. So obviously that would have put them back into second place, but they chose to take the money instead and contribute back to the grid. So that's another story. This is one of the reasons why I think the Bitcoin miners are very good and healthy for the expansion of our grid. These miners are able to turn off at any time and give a lot of energy back to the grid at peak times when sometimes, in these heat waves or extreme temperatures, the grid is desperate for that energy. So a story for another day. Okay, so then you'll see Iris Energy is in fourth place with 428 Bitcoin. Bitfarms was in fifth place with 385 Bitcoin. Cypher in sixth place with 360 Bitcoin. TeraWolf was in seventh place with 347 Bitcoin, and they did mine more in the month of June than they did in the month of May. So they are moving up the list. Hive was in eighth with 259. BitDeer was in ninth. They are new to this list. They just started putting monthly operational reports out last month. And then Stronghold is now reporting on a monthly basis. They mined 225 Bitcoin. So to put it in perspective, Argo Blockchain's in 11th, and that drops off almost 100 Bitcoin. So this top 10 is pretty rock solid. The two that fell out were Argo Blockchain and Hut. Now, if Hut goes through with their merger later this year, they may jump back onto this list and move way up the list. But at the moment, pre-merger, they have now fallen out of the top 10 just strictly from a number of Bitcoin mined per month. Argo Blockchain has fallen out of the top 10. They are unlikely to get back into the top 10 this year. In fact, I would be very surprised. Okay, now the next way I look at this is year to date. So this is kind of consistency throughout the year. You'll see once again, we have Marathon in first place with over 5,000 Bitcoin mined. They're significantly in first place. They're more than 20% ahead of Riot, which is in second place with 3,885 Bitcoin mined. We've got Cleanspark in third place with 3,495. Now, I expect that by the end of the year, Cleanspark will end up in second place on this list. So we'll see what happens. You know, there's a lot of moves the year. Again, this is only 50% of the year. We're exactly halfway through the year through this chart. So anything can happen in the second half of the year. My personal belief at this point is that Marathon is probably going to finish first, Cleanspark is going to finish second, and Riot's going to finish third. The most interesting thing this year is going to be at the end of the year, who finished in fourth place on Bitcoin mined year to date. So it looks right now like a race between Bitfarms and Cypher. I will tell you there's two other companies that could get themselves into this race, and they are Iris Energy, which is at number 6 right now. Even though they're pretty far behind, they're coming on strong. And TeraWulf is adding a lot of exahash. So it seems unlikely that TeraWulf is going to get there. I think it's either going to be Bitfarms, Cypher, or Iris Energy. One of those three companies is going to finish in fourth, and then probably the rest are going to be fifth and sixth. But don't count TeraWulf out. So you can see there's some big drop-offs by the time we get to the bottom of this list. At number 9 is Argo Blockchain. They're at 947. They are likely to stay at 9th or 10th in the best case scenario. And again, HUT is now in 10th year to date. And until they have that merger, they're probably going to stay near the bottom of this list. They could move up this list quite a bit in the second half of the year. If this merger goes through, they'll jump up to over 7. I think it now 7.5 exahash. So that would put them probably moving up ahead of a few of these companies on this list. So this is going to be an exciting one throughout the year. Let's see where this all ends up. Okay, now this is exahash per company. Again, I'm putting Core Scientific on here. You'll see Marathon has now passed them. So Marathon is at 17.7 exahash that's operational. They have another 4 exahash plugged in, getting ready to be operational. They just need to get energy to them. Riot's at 10.7. Their plan is to get to 12.5 exahash. They now have a new plan to get to over 21 exahash, but that's not going to be until 2024. So that leads us to third place. Right now, there's a tie for third place. Cleanspark and Cypher are at 6.7 exahash. However, I will tell you, Cleanspark just put out a press release today that they are now at 8.5 exahash, and it's still not even the middle of July, so you can expect them to get back to alone in third place. In fact, at some point, sooner than later, probably in the next 90 days, they could very well pass Riot and get into second place just from the number of exahash they have up and running. Cypher then is tied for third. They do have some more plans to grow this year, so I expect them to stay in the race. So you can see Iris Energy, TeraWulf, and Bitfarms are very close right now in exahash. I think they all have plans to do some big moves between now and the end of the year, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Then you'll see new to this list is BitDeer. Now, BitDeer just went public a few months ago. They just started putting out operational reports. So they have 4.6 of self-mining. So that puts them in 8th place. They're new to the list. Hive is in 9th place at 3.48. They have talked about plans to get to 6 exahash, but I think it's going to take them, sometime between now and the halving. And then Stronghold is new to this list at 3.2 exahash. Argo Blockchain is at 2.5 exahash. Also, we have HUT at 2.6 exahash. If they do the merger, they're going to immediately jump to 7.5 exahash. To me, this is the list that I really wait for each month, and I find this absolutely fascinating. This chart basically tells you how many Bitcoin each one of these companies has mined per exahash. The consistency here on this list is incredible, particularly Bitfarms and Hive. They have been in first or tied for first every single month, really all year this year. So once again, this month we now have a 3-way tie for first, and that is with Bitfarms, Hive, and Iris Energy. So those have been number 1, 2, and 3 for months and months now. So those 3 have really separated themselves. And I'm going to include Cleanspark in this. Cleanspark is in 4th place, but they have been a very, very close 4th place. I've included 12 on this list because there's a few companies that I still want to monitor, even though they've fallen out of the top 10, because I do think they will end up back in the top 10, over the course of the next couple of months. You'll see there's a little bit of a drop off once you get to Marathon at 60. But the one I really want to point out, Riot has dropped all the way to 12th place. But remember, remember, Riot chose to take $10 million selling energy back to the grid. So, that is the equivalent of about 350 or more Bitcoin. So that really would have put them back up towards that 60 mark, not 43. So they really would have been in the middle of the pack had they not taken all that money. As a business decision, it made sense for them to sell that energy at a very high price back to the grid. So from a profitability standpoint, that makes sense, but it does skew their numbers. Lastly is taking a look at the hodl position. So really only a few companies left that are hodling. There's 3 groups in my opinion, so I want to go through those 3 groups. You're going to see number 1, 2, and 3 are absolutely locked in. Marathon has now 12,538 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have been number 1 for quite some time, and they remain number 1. HUD is at number 2 with over 9,000 Bitcoin. So although they're at number 2, they actually still have more self-mined Bitcoin than Marathon does, because Marathon did buy about 5,000 Bitcoin about 2.5 years ago. So HUD's Bitcoin are 100% self-mined, so that leaves them in second place with over 9,000. You'll see Riot in third place with about 7,250 Bitcoin on their balance sheet as of June 30th. So those 3 are far and away the hodlers. We then have another group. We have Hive and Bit Digital. Now, you'll see next to Bit Digital, those are Bitcoin equivalent. About 2/3 of those are actually Ethereum. So Hive's actually in 4th place, just under 2,000 with 1,957. And those are Bitcoin. Bit Digital with their equivalents is in 5th place. And then there's a gigantic drop off from there. DMG Blockchain, which isn't on any of these lists for any other reason, did manage to hodl up over 500 Bitcoin. So in 7th and 8th, Bitfarms is in 7th at 549, just a few Bitcoin behind. And Cleanspark is in 8th at 529. Bitfarms and Cleanspark have committed to adding to their hodl position. So I would expect those 2 pass DMG Blockchain and start to get themselves closer to that Bit Digital balance. From there, we get down to Cypher with 417, and then there's a gigantic drop off to Argo Blockchain. So there's really only 9 companies with any hodl position at all, 3 with a significant hodl position. This chart should be interesting by the end of the year. Those top 3, I think, are locked in. Unless something drastic happens, I don't think there's any changing that. But the middle of this list is going to get very interesting as the year goes on as well. So this is another one worth paying attention to. So that's it. That's what I got for you so far on the Bitcoin miners year to date. Remember, if you enjoy this content and you want to help the channel, please remember to subscribe, smash the like button, and hit the notification bell. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.